Hello students, welcome to 10th lecture of electrochemistry. In previous lecture we discussed about molar conductivity of a strong electrolyte, and as we observed in a graph, molar conductivity increases in a straight line as we decrease the concentration. But we also see that in the same graph that when we decrease the concentration of weak electrolyte, initially change was minor and then drastically molar conductivity of weak electrolyte increases. Now for strong electrolyte, intersection with y-axis is known as limiting molar conductivity. But what about weak electrolyte? How can we find the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolyte? So in this lecture, mainly we will discuss about Kohlrausch's law of independent migration of ion. But before that, one point is mentioned here. Let us discuss that first. So as mentioned here, Kohlrausch examined limiting molar conductivity values of number of strong electrolytes. Now consider these values as lambda. Okay, by mistake it is printed like this, but we will consider them as lambda m and lambda m naught. So values of different strong electrolytes and observe that certain regularities. He noted that the difference in lambda m naught of the electrolytes NaX and Kx for the X is nearly constant. For example, at 298 Kelvin, we have two different examples, limiting molar conductivity of KCl and limiting molar conductivity of NaCl. And the difference of these two is just like limiting molar conductivity of KBr and NABr. So what is common between them? So common thing is first compound contains potassium ion, second compounds contains sodium ion. Similar situation is being observed in these two cases. First contains potassium ion, second contains sodium ion. So we can say that effect of chlorine will be same in both of these cases. That's why effect of chlorine will be cancelled out and only result will be obtained for K plus minus Na minus. Similar situation will be observed in second case. Effect of bromine will be cancelled out because we have same type of negative ions in this case, and only difference of K and Na will be observed, and result for Ki and Nai, both of them are again same 23.4. So again same ion, that means I minus will be cancelled out and only difference will be of a K plus minus Na plus. So what we can say from this point? We can say that if we are talking about Cl minus ion, then conductivity of Cl minus ion in KCl and conductivity of Cl minus ion in NaCl will be same. That means in this solution, if let us say Cl gives 10 points of conductivity, then in NaCl it will give us 10 points of conductivity as well. So difference in this case will be of a K plus and Na plus, because Cl minus gives same type of value in both of them, so it will be cancelled out. Similar situation will be applicable for second pair, that means Br will be cancelled out and difference of K and Na will be obtained, and difference of II will be cancelled out in third pair and difference of K and Na will be observed. So similarly, when we have this type of situation, that means same type of positive ion, in these three cases we have same type of negative ion pairs, and in this case we have same type of positive ion pairs. So we have NaCl and NaBr. So NaBr minus NaCl is exactly same as KBr minus KCl. So we can say that value of Na will be cancelled out and difference of Br and Cl will be obtained. In the second case, value of K will be cancelled out and result of Br minus Cl will be obtained, which is equal to 1.8. So we can say that ions are independent from the effect of each other when we are talking about limiting molar conductivity. So let us understand this point. Understand it like this way. Suppose we have four different solutions and all of them contains different type of strong electrolyte. Suppose in first beaker we have solution of NaCl, second has solution of KCl, third has solution of KBr, and fourth as NaBr. Now let us give some conductivity values of each ion. Here we have how many different type of ions we have? We have one Na plus, then we have one K plus, then we have Cl minus, and we have Br minus. That means we have total 2 positive ions and 2 negative ions in these 4 different beakers, and concentration of all of them, they are same. Let us say it is 1 molar of each. So if Na plus in NaCl conducts 10 points of electricity, then it will conduct 10 points of electricity and NaBr as well. If Cl minus conducts 5 points of electricity in NaCl, then it will conduct 5 points of electricity in KCl solution. If Br minus conducts 6 points of electricity in KBr, then it will be 6 in NaBr. And if K plus conducts 12 points of electricity in KCl, then it will conduct 12 points of electricity in KBr. We are talking about limiting molar conductivities. So what is limiting molar conductivity? So as mentioned earlier, infinite dilution and 100% dissociation. That means if you are using 1 mole of NaCl, then at limiting molar conductivity value, its concentration will be infinite. That means its volume will be infinite, and each and every ions are far more away from each other. They have infinite distance between them because of infinite dilution. So infinite dilution will result in infinite distance between the ions, and because of that, ions are free from effect of each other. That means in case of NaCl, at limiting molar conductivity, because of infinite dilution, 2 adjacent Na plus or Na plus and Cl minus or Cl minus ions are at infinite distance. So distance is so large that they do not affect each other. No attraction, no repulsion from each other. That's why they behave independently, and that's why they give same type of result in any type of solution. Because in NaCl, Na is free from effect of Cl minus, and in NaBr again Na is free from effect of Br minus. So they will behave equally in both of these cases. So this will be our base to find the limiting molar conductivity for weak electrolytes, because we cannot find limiting molar conductivity values practically because we cannot get infinite dilution. So this is our problem. We cannot find these values practically, but we can find it from the graph for strong electrolyte, but you cannot find it for weak electrolytes from the graph. So how can we find it? So let us talk about our next point, Kohlrausch law of independent migration of ions. So on the basis of above observation, he enunciated Kohlrausch law of independent migration of ion. The law states that the limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte can be represented as the sum of individual contribution of anion and cation of the electrolyte. Thus, if lambda m naught Na plus and lambda m naught Cl minus are limiting molar conductivity of sodium and chloride ions respectively, then the limiting molar conductivity of sodium chloride is given by the equation lambda m naught NaCl is equal to lambda m naught Na plus lambda m naught Cl minus. That means limiting molar conductivity of NaCl molecule is equal to limiting molar conductivity of Na plus ion plus limiting molar conductivity of Cl minus ion. For molecules we will use capital lambda, and for ions we will use small lambda. Okay, so this value will represent the limiting molar conductivities or molar conductivities of ions, and this capital lambda value will represent the value of molecules, whole molecule. So in general, if an electrolyte on the dissociation gives V plus cation and V minus anion, then its limiting molar conductivity is given by molar conductivity is equal to limiting molar conductivity of positive ion and limiting molar conductivity of negative ion. And here lambda m naught plus and lambda m naught minus are the limiting molar conductivities of cations and anions respectively, and the values of this type of cation and anions are given in this table. And throughout, whether you have strong electrolyte or weak electrolyte doesn't matter, these ions will give same value of limiting molar conductivity. That means if you have Na plus in NaCl molecule or in NaBr molecule, they are strong electrolyte, or in CH3COO sodium acetate molecule, which is weak electrolyte. But value of limiting molar conductivity of sodium will be same in all of these cases. So this is the base of our limiting molar conductivities for weak electrolyte point. That means to find the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolyte, we can use the data obtained from strong electrolytes. As mentioned earlier, at limiting molar conductivity stage, no matter which type of molecules you have, whether you have strong electrolyte or you have weak electrolyte, all of the ions are at infinite distance and they are 100% dissociated. That means 1 mole of NaCl or 1 mole of sodium acetate, both of them will ionize 100%, and all of these ions are at infinite distance from each other because we have infinite dilution. We can find limiting molar conductivities at infinite dilution only, which is not practically possible. So weak electrolyte like acetic acid have lower degree of dissociation at higher concentration, and hence for such electrolytes the change in lambda m with dilution is due to the increase of degree of dissociation. Degree of dissociation, that means we can say that percentage of dissociation. If we are talking about percentage, then total is equal to 100, and if you are talking about the degrees, then total is equal to 1. So degrees of dissociation and consequently the number of ions in total volume of solution that contains 1 mole of electrolyte. In such case, lambda m increases steeply, as we saw in figure 3.12 on the dilution, especially near lower concentration. Therefore, lambda m naught cannot be obtained by extrapolation of lambda m to 0 concentration, because after certain point the graph of weak electrolyte will be parallel with y-axis. On the other hand, for a strong electrolyte, we saw that it is straight line graph and we can easily stretch that line to connect it with y-axis. But for weak electrolyte, it will be parallel, so no touching with y-axis. That means no value for limiting molar conductivity from the graph. And practically speaking, at infinite dilution, when concentration reaches to 0, electrolyte dissociates completely. That means degree of dissociation is 1. Degree 1, that means 100%. But at such low concentration, the conductivity of solution is so low that it cannot be measured accurately. That means problem is infinite dilution. That means we can say that almost concentration is 0. That means you are measuring the value of conductivity of NaCl, but concentration of NaCl is 0. That means it is not practically possible. Or understand it like this, we have 1 mole of NaCl in the C, okay, only 1 mole of NaCl. So practically speaking, we cannot find the conductivity effect of NaCl in C, okay, if only available value of NaCl is 1 molar. So assume it in that way, we have volume of water equals to sea or oceans, and we have 1 mole of NaCl dissolved in it. So it is very hard to measure conductivity value of NaCl in such low concentration. But for NaCl we can find it using graph, but we cannot find for weak electrolytes even from the graph. So that's why we will use Colruyt's law of independent migration of ions. Example 3.8. At any concentration C, if alpha is the degree of dissociation, then it can be approximated to the ratio of molar conductivity lambda m at the concentration of C to limiting molar conductivity. That means lambda m naught. Thus we have alpha or degree of dissociation is equal to lambda m divided by lambda m naught. Now let us understand this equation first, what this specific equation represents. Now as mentioned earlier, when 100% ions are dissociated, then maximum possible value of molar conductivity is known as limiting molar conductivity. That means you will get this value only when ions are 100% dissociated. If they are not 100% dissociated, at that time you will get the molar conductivity lambda m, okay, which is not equals to 100% dissociation. That means this is maximum possible value for given electrolyte, whether it is strong or weak. So simply understand it like this. Suppose you have 1 mole of acetic acid, and 1 mole of acetic acid gives, let us say, 10 points of conduction of electricity. So it will be limiting molar conductivity of acetic acid. But when it is partially dissociated, it gives, let us say, molar conductivity which is equal to 5. Then we can use these values in this equation to find degree of dissociation. That means how many moles of acetic acid is dissociated. So simply 5 divided by 10, that means 0.5. Out of 1 mole, only 0.5 moles are dissociated and remaining molecules are still in molecular form. They are CH3COOH molecules, and 0.5 of initial CH3COOH molecules are now dissociated into H plus and acetate ions, CH3COO minus ions. So from the 100% dissociation value and given dissociation value, you will find difference in conductivity, and using those conductivity values we can find degree of dissociation. But as we already learned in class 11 unit 7, Ka, that means equilibrium constant for weak electrolyte, is equal to C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. Now in this case we can rewrite value of alpha as we already derived in equation 3.26. But first of all, how can you get this relation? It is already mentioned in class 11 unit 7, but let us discuss it quickly. So suppose we have a dissociation reaction of acetic acid, CH3COOH gives CH3COO minus, that means acetate ion and H plus ion. Now let us assume initial concentration of CH3COOH, that means when reaction is not yet started. At that time we have 1 molar concentration of acetic acid, and for product concentrations will be 0 because reaction is not yet started. Now let us say out of 1 mole, when reaction reaches to equilibrium, alpha mole of our acetic acid molecules are dissociated. That means you will get alpha moles of acetate ions and alpha moles of H plus. Now let us say if our concentration is C, that means you will get C alpha of acetate ion and C alpha of H plus, and at that time concentration of acetic acid will be C divided by multiplied by 1 minus alpha. So as we know, equilibrium constant K is equal to concentration of product upon concentration of reactant. So we have products concentration of acetate ion C alpha multiplied by concentration of H plus C alpha divided by concentration of reactant C into 1 minus alpha. That means C square alpha square divided by C into 1 minus alpha. So C will be cancelled out and you will get C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha as mentioned in the equation. C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. Now we can replace the value of alpha as we obtained it from here, and you will get this equation, and finalized form of that equation will lead us to this value, in which we have C lambda m square divided by lambda m naught into bracket lambda m naught minus lambda m. This will give us value of equilibrium constant. Or in the other word, we can say that if you have value of equilibrium constant, you can find value of either molar conductivity or limiting molar conductivity, or if you have these values, molar conductivity and limiting molar conductivity, then you can find the value of equilibrium constant. Application of Kohlrausch law. Using Kohlrausch law of independent migration of ion, it is possible to calculate lambda m naught for any electrolyte, whether it is strong or weak, from the lambda m of individual ions. Moreover, for the weak electrolyte like acetic acid, it is possible to determine the value of dissociation constants once we know the lambda m naught and lambda m at a given concentration C. So as we obtained the previous equation, using that equation we can find the degree of dissociation. That means how many percentage of dissociation of weak electrolytes like acetic acid occurs? Examples are mentioned, so let us quickly discuss this example. Calculate the lambda m naught for CaCl2 and MgSO4 from the data given in table 3.4. So you can check the data as mentioned in 3.4. We need limiting molar conductivity of Ca2 plus and for Cl minus for CaCl2, and for MgSO4 we need Mg2 plus and SO4, limiting molar conductivities of these individual ions. So you can collect the data from the table and then we can put it in the equation as we can see here. So limiting molar conductivity of CaCl2 is equal to limiting molar conductivity of Ca2 plus and 2 multiplied by limiting molar conductivity of Cl minus, because we have 2 Cl minus in 1 mole of CaCl2. So for Ca it is 119 and for Cl it is 76.3 multiplied by 2, because we have 2 ions of Cl. So overall for CaCl2 it is 271.6 limiting molar conductivity. Similarly for MgSO4, value of Mg2 plus and value of SO4 2 minus, and it will be 266. So direct summation of the values of given ions will lead us to value of molecule. The next question is limiting molar conductivity of NaCl, HCl and NaAC are, that means sodium acetate. AC represents acetate ion CH3COO minus, are 126.4, 425.9 and 91 respectively. Calculate for HAC, that means acetic acid, acetate ion CH3COO minus and H plus. So HAC represents acetic acid. So how can we find the value of limiting molar conductivity of HAC? So as we know, HAC, that means it contains H plus and acetate ions, that means CH3COO minus. So we need value of these two. So we can get the value of H plus from HCl and for acetate ion from NaAC, sodium acetate. But at the same time, when we measure the limiting molar conductivity of HCl, you will get the data about Cl minus, because they are together, and when we measure the limiting molar conductivity of acetate ion, you will get the data of Na plus as well. So we have to remove these values from HCl and NaAC. For that we can use NaCl, because when we subtract limiting molar conductivity of NaCl from these two, it will cancel out the effect of Cl and Na, and remaining values will be for H plus and acetate ions. So it is mentioned here, we need limiting molar conductivity of HAC, that means for H plus and acetate ion. For that we will use the value of HCl, we add the value of sodium acetate, and then we will subtract the value of NaCl. Okay, that means we are doing limiting molar conductivity of HCl plus limiting molar conductivity of NaAC, sodium acetate, and then we will subtract the limiting molar conductivity of NaCl. So expansion of this equation will give us this equation, value of HCl, then value of sodium acetate and value of NaCl. So as mentioned earlier, value of Cl minus will be same in all of the equations, so value of Cl minus will be cancelled out. Similarly, value of Na plus will be same in all the solutions, so it will be cancelled out again. So only left values are limiting molar conductivity of H plus and limiting molar conductivity of acetate ions. So add the value of HCl and sodium acetate and subtract the value of NaCl, you will get the value of HAC or acetic acid. Last example, the conductivity of 0.001825 mole per liter acetic acid is 4.95. So it is very low concentration, 4.95 into 10 raised to minus 5. Calculate its dissociation constant if lambda m naught for acetic acid is 390.5. So first of all, note that this value 4.95 into 10 raised to minus 5 is conductivity of given solution. It is not molar conductivity. So first we need to find molar conductivity from the conductivity, and for that equation is mentioned, lambda m is equal to kappa divided by C. So conductivity is 4.95 into 10 raised to minus 5 and concentration is 0.001028. So multiply by 1000 as we discussed in equation. So it is equal to 48.15. Molar conductivity of given solution is 48.15. Now as mentioned earlier, degree of dissociation is equal to molar conductivity divided by limiting molar conductivity. So 48.15 divided by 390. 390 is maximum possible value of the molar conductivity of acetic acid when 100% dissociation occurs. So it is equal to 0.1233. So this is the value of degree of dissociation. Out of 1 mole, only 0.1233 moles are dissociated and remaining moles are still in form of acetic acid molecules. Only this portion is dissociated in ions, H plus and acetate ions. So from this equation, again as we discussed in previous point, K or equilibrium constant is equal to C alpha square divided by 1 minus alpha. So concentration, it is already mentioned, 0.001028 multiply by alpha square, which is 0.1233 divide by 1 minus alpha, and it is equal to 1.78 into 10 raised to minus 5 moles per liter. So this will be the equilibrium constant for our given acetic acid solution. So this independent migration rule was already discussed in competitive lecture. So if you find any difficulty, then go and refer that lecture. And if you find any difficulties regarding to these numericals, then feel free to ask. We will discuss them in detail and we will discuss some other numericals as well. Thank you.